Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Walker. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we start with, obviously, Walker kind of more officially getting his badge back. Stan's the one kind of giving it back to him. And obviously, it's the whole conversation about the campaign and stuff like that. Granted, I'm skipping around a little bit. The ending makes the beginning of this even more awkward because it's just like, yikes, but it's like, good times, fun times, and stuff like that. So, obviously, there's I love that whole thing between Stan and Liam, because it's a whole debate of trying to take him down and everything, and Liam steps on a step higher just to be taller than Stan, and Stan looks down at his feet, and then Stan stands on a stand higher. I love that, the little subtlety of no, you're not gonna look for photos to look taller to me. No, we're not gonna let that happen. But then they start, questions come up about the cop Campbell last episode. I knew the DA was retired. He said, I'm going to stay home until I retire. I didn't realize, I guess it hadn't been official. I think his retirement's officially happening, maybe he already was in the process of retiring and now he just expedited things. The way they were saying, retired made it seem like he already did. So I guess after last episode, he expedited things. Last episode, I brought it up. It's whatever Campbell was up to, he was getting a slice of the pie or was kind of connected to it in some shape or form. And then Stan kind of got a little cagey about the conversation because it also circled back to Emily's death. But then when they hear about a bomb threat, so Walker and Mickey look into it. Well, first and foremost, they take the kids to the restaurant, the bar, to hang out, so that they, because obviously this is with Spirit Week, that whole thing about the week beforehand, we're which is so interesting because that's the whole conversation about change and everything. That's what Spirit Week's supposed to be about. And even Brett brings up the conversation of, is it all talk? You're talking about change, but do you actually change? And so that actually plays a role in this episode too, because for Walker, he's all about reform too. As him and Mickey are kind of walking the halls, trying to figure out what's going on with this bomb threat. At one point, Walker asked, when it came to, his hearing and everything, it's Mickey never got a chance to talk, so it's what do you think about your partner's actions? And, Mickey's I think they were aggressive. And it's do you think he should have got his badge back? And she's I believe everyone, no matter what their position is, should be held accountable. And he was so you don't think I should have got my badge back? She's no, that's not what I'm saying. You're a good ranger, Walker. The fact of the matter is, you recognize, despite what you're going through, no matter what they're going through, everyone should be held accountable for their actions. But she was trying to say, the fact is that you are good, and the fact is, despite everything, I see you working towards being a better, but it's just because I know you could do better and be better. And he's you're right. I held on to a lot of darkness, but I promise you, I will be better. I'm going to be better. I will be better. So, I think it was kind of something he's been tiptoeing towards that, because I think, it doesn't erase the way he's been handling himself, because it doesn't erase the year he was away from his family, drowning his own darkness while they were drowning in their cells. But rather than being there for his family, he just kind of lamented in his own, and it's obviously he came back to work too soon, which is so interesting because that's a conversation too about the work-life balance. Walker doesn't think anyone can ever figure it out. Mickey's aren't you in the process of figuring it out? But even he's kind of yeah, I'm still kind of dealing with it, because once again, showing looking at where their partnership was at the beginning of this season to where it is, where she was where it is now. Because before, she would never have opened up as much as she has. She's I don't even know why I'm telling you this, but me and Trey kind of had a little bit of a scare because I missed my, my pills for the past couple of days, and there was a, potential pregnancy scare. But for her, it's yeah, she wants to potentially have kids, but, not right now, because especially with her job she's just getting comfortable being a ranger. This is still a new job for her, being a mom that could put it all at risk. Because above anything else, Mickey feels like she has to be perfect because she feels like this job could be taken away from her at any moment. That's why she has so much beef with Walker at the beginning, because his cowboy actions could easily reflect badly upon her. And for her, it's this job could be taken away from me at any moment in time. A lot of higher up people could look at this as an opportunity just to strip me of this title at any point in time. So Walker's more solidified in his situation because of many contributing factors, but like she, that's always been her fear. And it's just like being a mom right now, getting pregnant would mean time away from her job, and that means it could easily slip away from her. And she likes what she does. She's been working towards this and she loves it, but and obviously that's a conversation Trey's mom is having with him. I mean, it is complicated when the mother-in-law comes in dropping those conversations, and it's like, and because even Trey was like, oh, did you just take two? But she's like, yes, doctor, I took two. But it's like, it makes him feel a little weird, because right, you're kind of like freaking out about it to the point you're taking pills, and it's like, for that, because it's like, right, you're trying to overcompensate, and the fact is that this is freaking you out like that, like, but Trey's not as freaked out about it, because like, if it did happen, like, she's like, yeah, I want kids, but not right now, but his mom brings it up of like, right, I just want to make sure you and Mickey because yes, you decided that you didn't want to redeploy, you decided to stay here, because you want to make a change in your life, you wanted to be here with Mickey, you're Mickey. But look at her. She just walked out the door to be a ranger, right? And that's the same thing as being deployed. So she's like, I just want you to know that you and her are on the same page. That's a complicated thing of like, once again, finding that work-life balance. Is there such thing for it? Can they find it? Will they be the ones to be able to find it? Because Walker, he's in the process of finding it, but I think he's scared that maybe he won't be able to. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting development on that front. But they end up finding out the bomber behind all the... Well, for one, she cracks on Walker a little bit. It's like, wait, you were a theater geek? And it's like, yeah. Well, for one, him and Hoyt were on the football team, but also he's a theater geek. It's like, right, the whole trying to get with girls type of thing. And there was like, was it Becca Ferguson, which Jerry busted his balls earlier in the episode about it. And Walker's still saying like he's got scars in his gums from like that shark attack that was, I guess, the kisses and everything. Even Mickey taking pictures of it just to keep some keepsakes. So I think it's kind of adorable. It's like, well, you kind of got the upper hand on her beforehand, embarrassing her a little bit, meeting with her mom. Well, granted, then aunt, but you've actually now met her biological mom. Kind of helped out with that. So it's like, right, I need some ammunition against you. So I guess that's what that kind of comes down to. But what I thought was interesting is what they did about the dude, Travis, who was behind all of that, like the bomb talking and everything. But it's just, he wanted to be heard. So he's not, it seems like he's not all there in the head, but it's like, right, all that I did, like, it seems like arson was his thing. I went to jail, and, like, he wanted candidates to listen because he was talking about, like, some bats or something that were, like, under, like, a bridge or something that could attack people, but no one was listening. But, like, you have, Mickey being like, no, we'll talk to somebody about it. He's like, okay. He's like, good. And he's like, all right, you can take me away now and everything. So I guess they're probably going to take him to a facility where he can actually get some help and not just lock him up, hopefully. Which obviously that's a conversation too, because that's a conversation and debate between Stan and Liam about kind of like reform and stuff like that. Kind of, it's like, oh, and where would that money come from? Is that, well, maybe if necessary we have to raise taxes. See, Bonham, your son's talking about raising taxes. So even at the barbecue house at the Walker home, they're still kind of debating and stuff like that. And then you have, like, Stella ask a like really tough question. She's like, to either one of you, in particular, Uncle Liam, considering everything my dad went through, would you have given him his badge back? And Liam pauses and then eventually says, like, I didn't think he was ready. I recognize that he's trying to change. It's kind of how he leaves it. And she's like, okay, cool. Like, I mean, I wonder, is it because maybe she's feeling that certain way because she wants to know, like, because I think even she recognizes that's probably, like, the right choice, because, I mean, maybe it's also coming from maybe it's also stemmed from, like, right, like, me and August decided last episode would convince our dad to take his badge back and everything, so maybe it's also some remnants of, like, were we right to convince dad to take his badge back, like, was he even ready or right to, but I think he's on the cusp of being there, but I think it is like he needs to be back at work to kind of realize, and he got that, moment with Mickey this episode to realize, like, right, I do have to work hard to change. There's still a lot of work to do. I've got to be better. Obviously, the little awkwardness between him and Jerry, which Jerry was like, I know the way I left it. He's like, nah, Jerry, we're good. But it's like, what that means for them, like, whether that's still a conversation. Some other interesting developments. Obviously, Belle is going to Mexico to, visit her parents. and she was asking Stella to come with her because it's like, right, they just need to get out of town, like all of us, because like after everything we've gone through, it would be best to do that. But Stella is kind of hesitant because I think it's still a thing of I need to be here. I mean, for also she's got to figure things out for herself, and I think going with Bill isn't. But I think it's like, nah, my family needs me here. She had kind of made that decision beforehand of like, I need to stick around because this is what my family needs me. So I think this is where she needs to be because of and in spite of all the bad stuff that happened. Then there's the whole like. At first I was like, right, because. August is kind of in that in-between space. Like, Stella knows that Belle has a thing for him, but I don't think he's aware of that. But obviously he has a thing for Ruby. And so she's like, hey, come... Like, he finds out, like, wait, you're leaving for the summer? And it's like, she's like, hey, so come back to my place. My parents are going to be there. And then when they're hanging out, he smells like cup. It's like, oh, there's booze in it. And she's like... It's like, whoa, things are moving fast, and he's just like, because the thing is, it's like, this is all I've ever wanted. It's happening. Oh my god! I was like, what is he gonna do? Because I was about to feel bad because I was like, I think you should lean more towards Belle because to me that felt like well, me and Todd are broken up. Hell, Todd was trying to get Jerry's digits. But the fact is that she was kind of moving pretty quickly. I was like, I guess like one kind of thing before she goes for the summer. Well, because I don't know whether... Because I think it wasn't like she was just leaving for... Was she just leaving for the summer, or is she, like, moving? I'm not sure. I think it's just she's leaving for the summer. But for August, it's like, right, like, I've always imagined what I was going to say. But the fact is, there's always been this thing between us, like, you know... Because she was just saying, like, well, I was with Todd and now I'm not. But now it's like, right, like, it's kind of been obvious how I felt. And, you know, it's like, but we've just kind of had this, like, will they, won't they thing for a while. And for him, it's like, we kind of missed our moment. So he kind of leaves. And I'm like, wow. For one, that takes a lot to make that decision, which, once again, kind of an interesting parallel because, I mean, it's not a one for one, but it's, you know, Dad had to be in that same position. But it's just, I mean, no, I'm saying that as someone who's been in that situation, like, yeah, making the choice that, like, yeah, this is everything you've wanted and walking away from it. That is not just especially on a relationship level. It's like, oh my god, this is legitimately the girl of your dreams. You've had a crush on her like for a long time, and this is what you wanted. You've had the opportunity, but to walk away says a lot, shows a lot of growth. I think everything that August and Stella have been through, you know, made them grow. Sadly for him, Belle's already going to Mexico now, and he's like kind of misses a window of opportunity there. Granted, after the summer, who knows? Like, you know, I think that's a better, just because it's like, right, like, there was obviously like a him and Ruby thing at first, but then it's like, oh, wait, you have a boyfriend, okay. And it almost seemed like legitimately, she never really looked at August that way until like the episode, like him and Belle got really close, at first got really close, then it seemed like she started taking notice. I'm not saying it's a one-for-one thing of like, right, I won't get into it, but it's like the teen drama thing of like, right, it's almost like, now that I become like someone else shows interest in me, it's like I'm not there kind of pining after you the entire time. That's when you kind of take notice of me, because then it makes you kind of reevaluate your own relationship. But right, August is a good guy, Todd's kind of a deal weed, you know, but once again, just not getting to the nitty-gritty of it. But obviously the whole thing with August and his relationship kind of, you know, brings up the whole like, right, what about you and Trevor? She's like, I thought about writing him, but for her, it's like, despite all the good times, she can't help but blur it together with all the bad times. Stuff like, it's like, it's all real, the good and the bad. So it's like, I can't appreciate the good without attributing any of the bad with it as well. Like, it all just kind of comes together, so... Both of them still got quite a bit to figure out on their own fronts, you know? But, you know, for Stella, it's like, you know, you took up Mom's thing of, like, you know, pictures and everything, and you see things, like, a certain way that no one else can. And August says, both you and me saw something. We've both seen plenty of things that other people haven't, you know? So, but I think it's for Stella, it's like, at the very least, August has an outlet. I don't think she quite has an outlet for just everything she's feeling and dealing with, but August kind of does. But we'll have to kind of wait and see where things kind of go on that front with all of them. Like I said, just kind of like, the family fun time of, you know, Stan kicking it with Liam at the same time. Walker goes and visits Carlos, because for him it's like, right, hearing Travis talk earlier about like, right, about the whole conversation of not anyone listening, he realized, yeah, me as well as a lot of people failed Carlos. Like, I would have meet him and ask him why, not as a Texas Ranger, but as a widow, like as why he took the fall for that crime, because now we know the truth. But he's like, me and no one else. There were plenty of questions, but none of us were willing to push. Like, yeah, he felt like there was more to Emily's murder, but it's still a thing. It wasn't enough for him to push to ask Carlos and kind of figure out, like, whether there was, like, at that time, he just kind of let things be. Like, he never corrected things until now, but, you know, he's coming to talk to Carlos. You know, and Carlos is like, right, you know, he took the fall because he's like, I'm sick and I just want to take care of my family. Like, you know that better than anyone. He's like, I'm sorry, I should ask more questions. But he's like, you were a man who just lost, you know, his wife. I'm not going to fault you for being in the pain that you were at the time. But it's like, right, the lady who's responsible for all this, she's dead. And then the moment it's like, well, it wasn't just her. And you're like, but Walker's like, you said they. Then we cut back with the Stan thing, like that reporter's coming there, Byron's asking some questions. He's like, yeah, you were dodging some stuff. And then he was like, didn't like all these other cases Northside related that are you dismissed? I was like, what? That actually shocked me. Yes, I brought it up last episode. I was like, man, Sam was acting super suspicious with this whole Campbell and the DA thing. Like, it seemed like he was a little, like, especially because he was on his phone and stuff. I was like, I wonder if you go back through the rest of the season, anytime Stan popped up, would you? I don't know. I feel like that wasn't something that really maybe in retrospect, yes. Like, with this knowledge, if I went back, I probably would pick up on it a little bit more. But I definitely noticed it in the last episode. He seemed like, because it almost seemed like, especially when it's like, oh, why wasn't the DA trying to prosecute Campbell? And then Stan was the one who immediately was like, maybe there's a million other reasons. He's the one that kind of gave that excuse that made me think like, okay, there was something more. But he quickly dropped that and was kind of like, all right, let's look into this. I was suspicious about, like, right, there's probably some dirt about him. Did not realize it was going to relate to Northside Nation, nor that it would connect to Emily's murder, because he's the one that came with the lady to visit Carlos about this. So we don't know whether it's a thing of either Stan was working with them because, hey, I want a good cut of the pie, or is it a situation where it's like, he got mixed up in some stuff and he kind of owes them. Either way, they were using his position on the DPS to, like, get stuff done. Like, obviously he made, like, some of the cases kind of get dismissed on, like, Northside Nation. So he had their back. Granted, I'm sure he wasn't the one that okayed killing Emily. It was just kind of at the circumstance. So it's like, right, I kind of have to do what I have to cover this up, because if the Northside Nation goes down for this, it's going to come back on me too. So... plus, you know, which makes it even worse, because it's like, right, you've been around me the entire time. Like, you're kind of part of this family, and you've been doing all this. It makes it even worse, because it's like, right, you all smiles and everything, and he accidentally kills that reporter because the reporter's asking him so many questions. Turns to a shoving match. Not what he wanted to happen, but accident. But right, you're asking too many questions, and he's like, come back to my office. We'll look over the files, because it started spiraling. It, you know, Campbell getting arrested, and then the DA sent a lot of it started opening up. I mean, this box of Pandora's was already probably open. It's been open for a while, and it's not until, like, this reporter started really digging that a lot of stuff got found out. So, I mean, who knows? Maybe Campbell's arrest was like the first domino to fall in this regard. But I mean, there was other contributing factors. You know, I'm just actually surprised, because I felt like the Emily stuff was kind of done the moment her killer was kind of killed. I didn't really expect there to be more, because we hadn't touched on it in a while. But it was more so about, like, repairing that family and finding out everything they were going through, finishing up all the Duke related stuff too. So, like, I mean, that all kind of relates to, like, the Walker family trying to, you know, fix themselves after everything. So, but now Walker knows that Stan was responsible, and, you know, like I said, in what capacity we don't know, whether he was the one that okayed it or whether that happened behind his back. Either way, like, you are a part of this. So, once again, a man that was like family to you. And then he comes back, he's washing his hands, and he's trying to, like, it's interesting because he knows that eventually it's going to come out. Now it's only a matter of time, so he's freaking out, but also he's trying to keep everything copacetic, even telling Ab, like, hey, why don't you and Bonham have your renew vows at my place? And it's like, yeah, anything for you guys. It's like, hey, you always have a place to stay here because you're like family. He's like, I'm gonna hold you to that. Telling Liam, no matter how this all plays out, like, It was a good competition. Like, he knows this is about to go super sideways, you know. So I don't know, because I guess he's almost trying to be like, yeah, don't look at me like the monster you're gonna find out I'm about to be. Especially when he's immediately like, yeah, this is about to go wrong, and they immediately try to kill Walker, so it doesn't make it better. Granted, they try to run him off the road, have him dig his own grave. Stands there, once again, kind of seeming like he's in charge, but Walker gets the advantage, kills the other two, got a gun pointed to Stan, and it's like, okay, so what is Walker going to do? And Stan's like, no, this isn't you. You've reformed. He was like, yeah, but you're a part of all of this. Like, when it comes to Emily, like, that darkness is swirling back. So I don't think he's going to do it in the end. He's like, you're going to get in a truck. So what that's going to turn into, I have no... He's going to probably disappear with Stan for a while and probably ultimately try to decide what he's going to do. Is your hope? I think Walker is going to be able to walk away from this. I don't know whether it's going to be a situation where Stan puts himself in a situation where he ends up dying because he'd rather die than actually go to prison, but that's... There's a lot. I mean, there's also, like, the whole Bonham being sick thing. It's like, he didn't want to tell anybody, but Abby was kind of like, you need to tell the family. He wanted to wait till after the elections, but after this whole conversation, like what secrets has kind of done to this family, he doesn't want to keep that up, So, there's quite a few threads that need to be still left to kind of pull in this regard. Obviously, once again, like, circling back to the conversation between Trey and Mickey of, like, them trying to figure out what's next for them, whether they'll be the ones to be able to figure out the work-life balance, all the stuff with Walker. It's going to be interesting to see how it all wraps up. Next week's episode is the season finale, so how this all plays out is going to be interesting. What other developments are going to be around the corner? We'll see what choices Walker makes next episode. Like I said, I'm giving him a benefit of the doubt. I think he is not going to give into his anger to that darkness because it already kind of broke his family once. If he does this, they'll be broken again, and there might not be any repairing it. There'll be no fixing it. But even with that belief, I'm still curious what the aftermath is going to be. Is he going to be using Stan to, get the rest of Northside Nation? Or, like I said, is Stan going to put himself in a position where he ends up dying? Very similar to the Trevor's dad situation, So we'll ultimately have to wait and see. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.